Hello guys, Niket here. Today I am going to present a topic on risk management. So let's start with the video. First let me start with what is risk. It can be described as any uncertain event or condition that if it occurs has a positive or negative effect. It can affect anything, human, processes and resources. Now let me start with what is risk management. It is a process of identifying, assessing and controlling threats to an organization's capital and earning. They can arise from sources like financial uncertainties, legal liabilities, technology issues, strategic management errors, accidents, and natural disasters. A successful risk management program helps an organization consider the variety of risk it faces. There are 5 steps involved in the risk management process. First one is to identify the risk. Second is to analyze the likelihood and impact of each risk. Third is to prioritize risk based on the business objective. Fourth is to treat and to respond to the risk conditions. And the last could be monitor risk and adjust as necessary. Now, the organizations that I have selected is Vista Systems Incorporated. It is a small kind of software startup consultancy company in which one of the partner is my friend's uncle. It is located in Oshawa. They have few computers and a one server. Now, the main topic of the presentation, the 4 risks and its mitigation techniques. The first risk is the financial risk. Financial risk refers to a business ability to manage the debt and fulfill the financial obligation. This type of risk typically arises due to instabilities, losses in the financial market, or movement in the stock prices, currencies, interest rates, etc. Common categories of financial risk include market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, and operational risk. Now, I won't go into much details about this, but you can refer the reference slide at the end and can learn more from there. What could be the impacts of financial risk? Financial loss, obviously. Increased loss of some raw materials adversely affect our result, financial conditions, and cash flows in the future period. Let me give you an example. From a project manager perspective, if you don't estimate the job properly, it's easy to run over on cost. Additionally, if there are a lot of changes to the project, you can end up both company and client spending more money on those changes and lengthening the timeline of the project, which gets pretty expensive, right? What can we do to mitigate those risks? Identify and measure the risk. Decide on the level of risk you are willing to accept. Consider insurance to protect against business risk. Identify potential issues with cash flow. Review your financial arrangement with creditors. Be careful if you're going to extending credit to the customers. Diversify your income source. Carefully reviewing and reassessing and planning. The Vista Systems Incorporated that I have chosen, they are reviewing and they are planning to soon implement the SWIFT strategy to manage the financial risk. Now, the second risk is compliance risk. Compliance risk is an organization's potential exposure to legal penalties, monetary fines, reputation damage, material loss that can be caused by failure to act in accordance with government laws, industry regulations, or prescribed best practices. Avoiding compliance risk involves staying on top of your industry specific legislation, regulatory bodies, as well as states and national standards. What could be the impacts of financial loss? Yeah, that is the financial loss, reputational damage, investigation and legal proceedings, drop in the consumer base. Now, to give you an example, one must follow the PCI DSS standards for payment operations processing while using or storing credit debit card data. What can be the standards of PCI DSS? So I have mentioned those below. Install and maintain a firewall configuration, to protect cardholder data, do not use vendor supplied default credentials for system passwords and other security parameters, protect stored cardholder data, encrypt transmission of data across open and public networks, use and regularly update antivirus software or programs, develop and maintain system secure applications, restrict access to cardholder data by business need to know, assign a unique ID to each person with computer access. This can be a user ID of a system. Restrict physical access to cardholder data, track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data. Regularly test security systems and processes. Maintain a policy that addresses the information security for employees and contractors. What can be the mitigation techniques? Inform the staff of their responsibilities and role in the compliance efforts. Monitor business trends, financial data management, and regularly updates to anticipate new risks. Conduct regular internal audits and use data masking techniques while storing the credit debit card data into the databases. Moving towards the next risk, that is the strategic risk. As your business attempts to achieve your strategic objectives, internal and external events can deter or prevent you from accomplishing this. This is known as strategic risk. One can also define strategic risk as the potential impact of strategic decisions or of a defective or inappropriate strategy, lack of responsiveness to industry changes, risks related to future plans. Example could be entering new market, expanding existing services, etc. Managing risk shouldn't just focus on the challenges that might cause a particular strategy to fail, but on any major risk that could affect a company's long-term positioning and performance. What can be the sources of the strategic risk? That could be mergers, acquisitions, and other competitions, market or industry change among customers or in demand, human resource issues such as staffing, financial issues with cash flow, capital or cost pressures, IT disaster and equipment failures, reputational damage, and so on. So, what can be the example of this? Consider the possibility of a US company buying one of your UK competitors that would constitute a strategic risk. Such an acquisition would give the US company a distribution arm in the UK and making them your direct competitor. What can we do to mitigate the strategic risk? So it involves evaluating how possible events and scenarios may affect your strategy and its execution. The second could be the evaluating the ultimate impact of this risk on company's value. So the next risk is risk from cyber attacks. In this digital era, you never know if there is any malicious activities going on within your organization, and that's why there is always a risk from cyber attacks. The sources can be a service interruption, security breaches, and humans that could adversely affect our business. Impacts of the cyber attack risk: financial loss, obviously, interruption of operations, unauthorized disclosure of confidential information, reputation damage, and potential legal proceedings. To cite an example, one of the popular attack today is ransomware, in which an attacker encrypts the file system of a victim and demands the ransom in a bitcoin so that it is non-traceable. Then after paying the ransom, they decrypt the files, so here we lose on the financial terms. If I want to give you another example, it could be of a social engineering attempt to steal login credentials via email or text messages on an employee having certain authorization within an organization. What can we do to mitigate the risk from cyber attacks? There are many ways to do, and some of them I have mentioned below. Employee training and awareness. Personally, I think this is a crucial step. The second could be identify and address cyber threats. Another could be using encryption for data at rest and data in transit. regularly update anti-malware software or programs, deploy firewalls and proper network monitoring tools, use strict password policy that require to change the password every 3 to 4 months, also by not allowing to use previous three passwords. Password managers can be a great help here. If you want to do more research about password managers, the popular one are LastPass and OnePassword. Conduct penetration testing at regular interval, review risk management procedures, use data backups that include offsite or remote storage, understand the legal obligations for online businesses. Another crucial solution could be use business insurance. It is an essential part of IT risk management and recovery planning. One should have also have the IT incident response plans and recovery plans if something occurs. Now, to conclude, I would say every organization faces some kind of risk every day. Therefore, what matters is how you perceive the risk and what steps you do to eliminate or minimize the risk. One should at least follow the best practices for managing the particular risk. That's it from my side. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Here are the references that I've used to make this presentation. Thank you. Have a good day.